The man inside the chamber isn't a soldier. He isn't a spy. He's a farmer. Just a few weeks ago, he was planting millet in the fields of Harbin.
HMZ.
Now, he's data. The scientist standing on the other side of the glass isn't angry. He's not sadistic. He's bored.
HMZ.
He's holding a clipboard. He taps his pen against the paper, checking a stopwatch. He needs to know exactly how much atmospheric pressure the human body can withstand before the eardrums rupture, before the eyes pop. He isn't torturing the man. That would imply emotion.
HMZ.
To him, the man is a wet log, a piece of wood to be burned for warmth, or in this quasi broken foreknowledge. We like to think of medicine as the noble pursuit. The white coat, the Hippocratic oath first, do no harm, but in the darkest corners of the 20th century, war didn't just break borders. It broke the definition of what it means to be human. Governments realized something terrifying. The battlefield is a slow, messy laboratory. Why wait for soldiers to get shot, frozen, or gassed by accident? Why not speed up the process? Let's zoom out. It's the late 1930s. The world is a powder keg sitting next to a bonfire. But while the Europeans are building tanks and the Americans are debating isolationism, the Empire of Japan is doing something different in occupied China. They are building a lumber mill, at least that's what they told the locals. They called it the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. Sounds boring, right? Bureaucratic, safe. In reality, this was Unit 731. A sprawling city of death commanded by a man named Shiro Isii. Isii wasn't a brute. He was brilliant. A doctor, a man who looked at the Geneva Convention, which banned biological warfare, and didn't see a warning. He saw a shopping list. He figured if the world banned this, it must be effective. So, he set up shop in Pingfan. He had unlimited funding. He had the best equipment. And most importantly, he had a supply of that's the Japanese word for logs. That's how they referred to the prisoners. Chinese civilians, Russian capturees, Koreans. They weren't people. They were raw materials. If you find these topics disturbing and need support, resources are available in the description below. Thank you for watching. Now, usually, when we talk about war crimes, we talk about hate. But the horror of Unit 731 wasn't hate. It was curiosity. They wanted to know how to treat frostbite for their troops in Siberia. So, they took a prisoner, dragged him out into the sub-zero Manchurian winter, soaked his arms in water, and waited until the limbs froze solid. Then, they tried to thaw him out. Hot water, cold water, beating the limbs with sticks. They found that water between 100 and 122 degrees Fahrenheit was perfect for recovery. Great discovery. It saved thousands of Japanese fingers and toes. But to get that data, they had to freeze the flesh off a living father of 3. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was the factory floor. But here's the kicker. Japan wasn't the only one trading ethics for results. Halfway across the world, the Nazis were running their own clinical trials. Think of the German approach as less biological warfare and more extreme occupational safety. The Luftwaffe had a problem. Their pilots were getting shot down over the North Sea. The water there is freezing. A pilot would hit the water and die of hypothermia within minutes. The high command needed to know, how long do we have? And what's the best way to warm them up? You can't test that on a volunteer. No one volunteers to die of cold. So they went to Dachau. Dr. Sigmund Rascher filled bats with ice water. He threw prisoners in. Some were naked. Some wore flight suits. He stood there with a thermometer and a notepad, recording the exact moment the shivering stopped, the exact moment consciousness faded, the exact moment the heart gave out. He killed nearly 100 people just to make a chart. But wait, it gets darker. The war ends, 1945. The mushroom clouds fade over Japan. The tanks stop rolling in Berlin. The Allies start sifting through the rubble. They find the camps, they find the bodies, they find the horror, but they also find the filing cabinets. This is where the history books usually gloss over the details. We like the story where the bad guys go to jail and the good guys go home. But the American intelligence agencies looked at Ishii's data on biological weapons. They looked at Rasher-S data on high-altitude survival and hypothermia. They didn't see crimes, they saw leverage. The Cold War was starting. The Soviets were hungry for this tech. If the US put Shiro Ishiya on trial, all that knowledge, thousands of deaths worth of data would become public record. Or worse, the Russians would get it. So, a deal was cut. General MacArthur and the US government secretly granted immunity to the doctors of Unit 731. Read that again. Immunity. The men who vivisected pregnant women, free. The men who tested anthrax on villages, on the payroll. Ishiya died in his bed, a free man. In 1959, and the Nazi data, it was quietly absorbed into US aerospace medicine. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's disgusting. But surely we threw that data away, right? We didn't actually use it. This is the part that hurts. If you fall into a frozen lake today, the medical protocols used to revive you, the rate of rewarming, the chemical treatments part of that knowledge comes from the data collected at When NASA was designing pressure suits for the space race, they looked at the German altitude experiments. We are standing on a mountain of corpses, and we're using them to see the stars. This created the hypothermia debate. For decades, bioethicists have screamed at each other. One side says using the data is complicity. It validates the torture. It says the ends justify the means. The other side says the victims are already dead. If we destroy the data and then a pilot dies because we didn't know how to treat him, didn't we just kill the victim twice? Did we make their suffering pointless? It's a moral, not you can't untie. The war that turned humans into test subjects didn't really end in 1945. It just changed venues. It moved from the freezing vats of Dachau and the pressure chambers of Pingfan into the quiet, sterile archives of modern science. We tell ourselves we are civilized. We have review boards. We have consent forms. We have ethics. But deep down in the footnotes of our medical textbooks, the ghosts of the logs are still there, silent, waiting, reminding us that the knowledge we rely on to save lives was bought with the currency of hell. So, the next time you put on a life jacket or read about a medical breakthrough, ask yourself, who paid for it? Now, a lot of the documents regarding the deal between MacArthur and Unit 7031 were burned, or so they said. But some files survived in the most unlikely places. If you want to see the declassified memos that prove exactly who knew what and when,
HMZ.
check out the deep dive newsletter linked below. And if you want to know what happened to the American soldiers who were tested on,
HMZ.
hit subscribe. We're going there next.